This Easter would have been the 80th time that this season unfolded in my life. And I never would have ever dreamt that I would have this kind of Holy Week as a Catholic priest. I usually running around making sure the Stations of the Cross are set up right, making sure the schedule goes well, making sure the servers, those who are baptized, we'd have meeting after meeting, and instead I'm sitting in my house doing nothing. Like all of us, sitting in our homes, doing the most basic things. Unprecedented. Why is the question? Why this? Why something like a pandemic? Why a coronavirus? The name Corona only meant to me a clear bottle of beer with a lime stuck in the top. That's my connection with Corona. But typical of the time we've all had isolated from one another, I have a lot of time to look up things on the internet and whatever. I looked up the word Corona, and it means a glow, a kind of light emanating from something. The term is used for the atmosphere around the sun that can only be seen when there's a total eclipse, if there's a glow around the sun that is blinded by that incredible light. And think of that light as just the world as we know it, the world as we're living it. It's the light we live in, and all of a sudden it goes black. And then we still see something in the blackness, in the darkness of life, of a glow. And then I go and find out that they're named the coronavirus because when you look at the actual virus itself, that one, we see pictures of it everywhere now, in a certain microscope, it glows. It has light in it. What? This enemy of life has light in it that can maybe only be seen in darkness? I don't know, these are just images that come to me, and I'm thinking maybe there's something in that we should ponder. Is there a mystery here? And I think if you look at what this whole week tries to draw our attention to as Christians, this celebration, considered the most important celebration of the year. And it comes in three parts called the Triduum. It's the Holy Thursday and Good Friday, Easter Sunday, the Vigil on Saturday night. I'm thinking, all right, what's the connection? Why is the pandemic about to peak at this time in our country during Holy Week? I mean, it seems like, come on, God. This is the time to be connected with you and with each other in a celebration of who you are in our life and what you brought to us. And so it's made me think, all right, there's not a coincidence here. There's a reason why this time that we're in this darkness in our country and in the world, that we're asked to ponder the Triduum, which is the essence of what Christianity teaches. And I'm gonna see if I can summarize it for you, at least the key things that I think are just there, crying to be understood and crying to be fleshed inside of us. And let's start with Thursday night. There's two things that we focus on. One, the Eucharist, and the other is the washing of the feet. Now we know that the washing of the feet was only in John's gospel. We know John had a sensitivity to who Jesus was. They didn't even record the Eucharist in his gospel. He just spoke of this moment that he must have been so touched by. Jesus, the Master, kneeling down, washing the feet of his disciples. It seems like an odd gesture, but it was a normal thing that any host would do for the guests at a party. They would have someone there to wash their feet. It was a sign of hospitality. Welcome to my home. Welcome to my meal. And then the meal. The meal. Jesus takes the ordinary things that make up a meal, drink, and food and does something with them that seemed absolutely incredulous to his disciples. He said, look, I want you to see something. I'm giving you a thing to remember, an image to remember. Images stick more than words or thoughts. The image is, this bread is me, this wine is me. One is my presence, my divinity inside of you. The other is the effectiveness of that divinity. You're intoxicated with this mysterious thing called forgiveness. Intoxicated in the sense that you're relieved of so much stress and anxiety, fear, and shame if you understand that when my body enters into you and I enter into you, there is not one thing in me that judges anything you do in the sense of I never condemn you for what you do. I'll condemn the action, I'll name the action. But he said, no, nothing can take my love for you, my interest in you, my care for you, nothing can take it away. Not anything you do. That's why on the cross he says, Father, they don't know what they're doing. 90% of what we do that's wrong and destructive is not because we think it through and think, yeah, I'm going to do something that really destroys people or me. No, we do it because it seems right. Because it's easier, maybe. So we have this meal and this image of service, and Jesus saying, look, I'm your master, I'm your teacher, I'm the one that's going to be in you teaching other people. And I want you to understand one thing. You know what the people are like now that are teaching my Father's life to you, my Father's teaching. Well, they don't do a very good job. They lord it over you. Don't do that. Whatever you do, he's saying, please be servants, be servants. That's key. What does that mean? Be a source of life. Well, what is that source of life I'm supposed to be giving? It's his presence. Every time you see depicted in art a picture of somebody filled with the presence of God, Jesus, Mary, the disciples, they have a halo, a corona around them. They carry something within them that's life. And then we go to the crucifixion. And the whole thing about the crucifixion, I think that's so important, is that Jesus had a real problem with the way in which his life was ending. He had a problem with the darkness that it presented to him as a young man, 3 years into his ministry, longing to do this work, unable to fulfill much of what he hoped for in his life. And he finds himself being faced with the reality that everything is going to go black. Everything's going to go dark. They're going to get you. Evil is going to get you. It's going to destroy you. It's in the unconscious people around you, and it can be, no one condemned Jesus in the sense of the high priest, not Annas, not Caiaphas, not Pilate. It was the crowd, the unconscious crowd. And they seem to be winning over Jesus' life and his plan. So he's in that garden, he's saying, please, Father, whatever. I'll always do what you ask. I'm not turning my back on what you're asking, but I'm just begging you as a human being, my words, not his. Please don't let it be this destructive, this painful. Don't let a pandemic be the cause of our reimagining our world and our life and seeing things new by killing people, innocent people. Can't you find another way to get our attention? Can't you change us in another way without having it to be so painful? You know the answer to that. Change, radical change doesn't happen when everything is the way it's supposed to be. It changes when we're flat up against something that we want desperately not to face. And he said this, surrender, surrender. What a word, surrender. Give in to evil. It makes no sense to the mind. Give in to evil. It doesn't mean you allow evil to do what it's doing. You have a weapon that destroys it. Because what evil's going to do is try to get you to turn against everything that is real, that is true. Truth is not necessarily always this beautiful image. Truth is, this is what life is like. This is what it takes to live a life. This is what it takes to become who you're called to be. It's not just, sweetness and life. Being engaged in God's life in us is not like saying, oh, everything's going to be so beautiful. God's in me. I can do anything. No, it's hard, painful, but surrender's the key. And what does it bring? Easter Sunday, new life. I think I'm fascinated by the fact that when Jesus rose, first of all, a lot of people didn't first recognize him, which that means that he looked different. I don't know what that means, but he never changed. He was fully human and fully divine before his resurrection and after. So why is it that he was so effective after his resurrection? Why is it so many people got it right away? You look at Pentecost, it's the perfect image of people getting it. All of a sudden they knew, wait a minute, we have a gift, a power inside of us. We can understand each other. We're from all over the world. We're all one. There's unity in this room, and we're intoxicated by the excitement of being connected and understanding each other, knowing each other without having to understand words. It's like felt this unity that all of us right now are crying for because of our isolation. Union, oneness, wholeness. That's what redemption did for humanity. And it does it in stages. It's not a one-time thing. We evolve into the reality of being a redeemed world, and that's where we are right now, in one of those absolute liminal spaces that's going to create a world that is so different and so much better than the world we live in. I believe it with all my heart. There's going to be an enormous increase in consciousness of what is true, what is real, who we really are, and the courage to live it. And peace. There's going to be peace. I don't know how to say it any other way, but I just know when I look at the world as it's been in a way spinning out of control. We see people using each other. We use our planet. We use up our resources. We waste our time on stuff that's really not important. All of that is being thrown under a microscope, and it's dangerous. It's infectious. It's like a disease, but there's light in it. Light is in the awareness. God's presence in us is promising that awareness. That's what we give into. That's what we surrender to. Oh, I wish I could free you from darkness. It's not that simple. I can't make the world, no one can make the world for the people that you love perfect. We can do something else, something more powerful. Teach us how. Teach each other. That's the key. Teach each other how to find life. It's been discussed by all religions. It's been sought by all human beings. And there's a wisdom, I believe with all my heart, in this Triduum mystery that is not just in Christianity, it's everywhere. If you look for it, it's always the same. Some divine power in us, giving us the ability to be so much more than just human. And that divinity and humanity that union is so perfectly matched. It's not, how many years have I spent wishing I could dump my humanity and be this holy priest or whatever. And the more I tried, the worse I got. And the more I embrace my humanity, and love it like my God loves it, I find peace. There's always, always that possibility.